Got my coffee and today's guest here with me, so we're ready to roll again. I'm Michael Hanf, Executive Partner at Taival Advisory. Welcome to the Circular Coffee Break podcast, where we will be casually talking about everything circular and beyond. Now, we hope the podcast is interesting, insightful, and provides new perspectives for all of you out there. But if you have any feedback, improvement ideas, or want to suggest something, feel free to leave a comment on your favorite podcast platform or drop us a note at info@taival.com. We're always eager to hear your feedback and your ideas. Now, my guest today has a very long background in the smart building environment. So he started off his career in 2005 with really hands-on construction work at companies like Skanska, before then joining VTT in 2009 to research sustainability and life cycle aspects of buildings and building products. While at VTT, he focused on research and business development in the areas of smart building and smart cities. And in 2019, he moved to Ylva as Chief Sustainability Officer. And since earlier this year, we spoke about it 3 weeks ago, actually, he's now serving as the Chief Executive Officer of the Green Building Council in Finland. He holds a Master of Science in Building Construction Technology and a Doctor of Science in Real Estate Economics from the Aalto University. And if that is not enough sustainability and construction and the built environment, his doctoral thesis had the title Sustainability of Buildings, New Perspectives on Material-Related Environmental Impacts of Buildings. I'm really excited to dive into the deep end of sustainability and circularity in the construction and smart building environment in today's episode. Thank you for joining me on the show today, Antti Ruuska.
Nice to be here, and thank you for the invitation and for the very kind introduction.
Thanks for being here, and
my pleasure.
Very early on in your new role. Now, you have been working in the smart building environment with a focus on sustainability for almost 15 years. Mm-hmm. To get us started, where do you see the industry today with regards to circularity and sustainability?
Yeah, industry of today is, we are kind of at the edge and something big is happening. Mm-hmm. And not everybody has yet realized that, but sustainability and circularity is coming to all aspects of our industry, from construction to ownership of buildings and so on, also on the finance side. Mm-hmm. And not everybody has realized that yet, but change is coming and it will be here within the next 10 years, say.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I fully agree. I think the topic has gained importance tremendously over the past couple of months, years, maybe. Now, given your long background and your in-depth perspective, what has changed since you first started? I mean, I mentioned you've basically been really hands-on in the construction work and where you are now. What are the topics, what are the changes you've seen in the construction and the real estate world in this area?
Yeah, there are many, and it's interesting kind of seeing the transformation from this linear model. We think like, yeah, that's like the way we've always operated. Mm. But if we go back to, say, 60s, I live in a single family home from the 60s. Yeah. And actually many of the structures, they are made of wood that was first used as the scaffolding for the concrete work. Then it was demolished or taken apart, and then they made the wooden structures out of those. Yeah. And so kind of a work with your hands, labor-intensive stuff, because the material was scarce, that was expensive, so on. But over the years, it turns the other way around. So materials became cheap, labor became expensive. Yeah. And we got used to kind of this wasteful way of construction. And now it's kind of changing it again. Mm-hmm. So of course the labor is expensive, but so are the materials. but we cannot waste them anymore. They are becoming scarce because we are using 3-4 planets worth of resources, and our industry is consuming half of it. So there's a lot of pressure because of climate change, biodiversity loss. Something needs to be done, and everybody sees that circularity is a key way to solve these problems. So massive pressure to change. But how to do it? So that's the problem that we are facing now. So how to do that in every project, how to kind of make the change happen in the industry. So yeah.
I fully agree with you. I think if we go back, 50, 60, 70 years, reusing building material and all of that was normal.
Exactly.
It was the way we did things back then. And then we have unlearned that over the years.
Yeah, and now we need to relearn that.
Yes.
And unlearn our wasteful ways of constructing stuff.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. From your point of view, I mean, you mentioned there's a lot happening in the industry at the moment, a lot of different players, a lot of different initiatives. Are there any projects or initiatives you're seeing that you see as lighthouse projects that can guide the way of the industry, guide the way of, as we said, where the industry is going? Or are there places where our listeners could learn more about some of these projects that you're involved in, or that the industry is basically shaped by as we speak?
Yeah, very good question. And luckily there's many things happening. So a lot of projects and you mentioned lighthouses, so forerunners are doing things. So they are at the moment, they're individual projects in individual cities, but the examples they are becoming there's more and more of them every day basically. And you can of course go to our webpage, Finnish Green Building Council, and we are listing a lot of projects. There's a kind of a project database where we are listing circular related projects at the moment, but there's also events where you can learn more. For example, we have been running this Kira Kioski, which is a real estate and construction kiosk. So basically this project has been a long project, and its end seminar is in becoming it's going to be in May. There will be a webinar of state-of-the-art things in Finland and also from abroad. So that's a good way to get your introduction. And World Circular Economy Forum is happening this year in Finland, and there we are actually showcasing 7 front-runner projects from Finland. And many things happening, but for example our webpage could be a good way to start exploring what's happening.
Perfect. And as you said, I think there's a lot of projects going on, but there's also a lot of regulation that's being talked about. So through very many different directions, a lot is happening in the industry. Now, since March of 23, you are the CEO of the Finnish Green Building Council, as we said. What do you see as the focus of your work for an organization like that? And what are the burning issues you see the Finnish Green Building Council take on as we speak, but also take on in the future?
Yeah. As you mentioned, many things are happening simultaneously, regulation and so on. So we have basically 2 main things that we focus on. So together with our 300 member organizations, we are showing the way, like where the world is going. For example, relating regulation, operating environment, we are trying to explain what's going to happen and how our members and others should prepare, how they could prepare, and also showing the examples of the forerunners who are doing things beforehand. So kind of showing the way, but also helping our member organizations to cope with the changing world, what's happening today, so giving them tools and so on. So the change is very fast. For example, EU taxonomy has come super fast, and that's impacting the company's bottom line through the cost of money, cost of capital, and when you are starting to report your taxonomy alignment, for example, in your annual reports, that impacts your ESG ratings, your company value. And these both are directly linked to, well, how well are you doing in terms of circularity of your projects. Yeah. So this changes super fast, like having these new requirements on what should happen on the site, and that's impacting your business bottom line and your company value, at least indirectly.
Yeah, no, I think that makes perfect sense, and I feel that a lot of companies are struggling with that fast change, because they have a day job. I mean, they need to take care of the things they normally take care of, and a lot of organizations don't have an army of people just sitting around waiting for new regulation, for new requirements to come in. So it's hard to react to all of these things.
Exactly, and then the public pressure is another thing, because the climate crisis and biodiversity crisis, they are pressing. More and more people know about them, are aware, and they are demanding companies to act on them. And you can actually see that in everyday real estate and construction business, because if you think about circularity, one of the key things there is kind of capturing value from something that's underutilized, basically. And for our industry, the basic operating logic has always been like get the most out of the land plot that you have. So if you have underutilized land, you typically take away the building. That was not as effective land use as it could have been, and you remove it, demolish that, make a bigger one. But this has been challenged very recently. It's not okay anymore to just take apart building and make a new bigger one on that place. But there's a new kind of a completely different logic. Like you should keep as much of the building as you can. You should refurbish it. You should maybe build something modular on top of it, and kind of maintain the value of the structures, as opposed to just maximizing the potential of the land plot. I fully agree with you. It's a significant mindset shift, basically, in how you think about construction. How do you think about land use, resource use, in the construction phase, but also in the use phase, basically along the life cycle of the building, more or less, which is naturally something very different from. Correct. And use stage, then you can again look at the kind of value loss, like if you have empty spaces, and there's a lot of new, for example, concepts that are like it may not be, building may not be used for single user, but there's multi-user buildings and flexible office concepts and so on, so you can actually maximize the use of the building over the life cycle of the building. Interesting, and I think it goes hand in hand with what we talk about, this new way of working, naturally, the completely new way of using buildings in that context. Exactly, and combining this with the kind of at least present trend of hybrid work, remote work. You don't need as much space for as many people, not every day of the week. So what kind of new models that brings you? So a lot of things are changing. Interesting. A lot of things happening in that space. Now, what's the strategic focus of the Finnish Green Building Council? What are the things you specifically as an organization are focusing on? Yeah, thank you for asking. And we are on the last year of our current strategy, and I'm happy to work on the new one as we speak. But our key focus points are basically the operational energy of buildings that should be carbon neutral and soon. So we are pushing for the professional real estate owners to turn into emission-free operation, and that's progressing well. A second thing that's it's more complex. So how to bring down the embodied carbon of the building materials, that requires changes in the supply chain. And third priority is the circularity. So how to go towards fully circular built environment, and our goal target year is 2030. So that's the current strategy, and new one will be within those lines, maybe a bit more ambitious. But what we are seeing is that our biodiversity, nature loss, that needs to be on the agenda as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and I think you're not running out of topics, because the next topic then is water scarcity, fresh water scarcity. So
we are working on it, like how big that should be on our strategic agenda. So and after that becomes social issues.
Yeah, exactly.
We cannot exclude those.
Yeah. Now not the Finnish Green Building Council is an international organization, but the Green Building Council is an international organization. How do you see, how important do you see the cooperation across different countries? Because different countries develop very differently when it comes to topics like circularity, like sustainability. But also, how do you see the value for your 300 members coming from that, being part of this international organization?
Yeah, very good question. I had a pleasure to meet with my fellow CEOs from across Europe on my first week at work, but it was super valuable to kind of exchange lessons on how they are operating with their member companies and so on. But there's definitely value in the international collaboration and having this global kind of a joint organization, because there needs to be things happening in the European level, on the global level. And we, as a single Green Building Council located in Finland, we cannot push those things as efficiently in the EU or in the global tables. So we need those organizations, those levels. But for Finland, together with our organizations, we are in a good position to actually put forward this sustainability or put forward this agenda, because we have such a broad member base. So if we together see that the industry should go to this direction, then we have the kind of a mandate to do so together with our members. And
I think, I mean, you mentioned the EU legislation, regulation. It's I think a huge topic where it's important to provide expertise and be involved in driving the right topics.
Yeah, that is correct, and also explain when the message comes from the Brussels to Helsinki, it tends to change on the way, and depending on the messenger, and then the public discussion is again a bit different. So we also see a role there, kind of trying to make the discussion understandable and focus on the right topics and make sense of the world, what's actually happening there.
And it's a complex, difficult topic and very abstract at times. So I think educating people, explaining, taking people along with you, I would assume it's an important part of the work you're doing, so that we have the same language, that we have a level playing field, and that we're talking about the same things.
Yeah, it has to make sense for everybody in the chain, because we may be talking sustainability on high-level tables, but if it doesn't show on the everyday work on the construction site, then it's for nothing. So basically you have to have the whole chain from the regulation to the site, and make it understandable, make it meaningful and important for the people who are actually working in the projects, working for the companies who are developing the projects, designing the projects and so on. And because I mentioned earlier, like there's this societal pressure on sustainability. Yeah. Well, who is the society? It's us, us professionals working in different companies. And there's also this internal pressure, like if you are working for whatever company, and if you see that your company is not operating as sustainably as it could, then that's a challenge. Like every company has to have kind of this sustainability agenda, and they have to lead the way in their area and show their staff that they are doing something, and their people have an impact. They have a purpose. Otherwise, they are risking losing those people.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you're making a very good point there. I mean, it's not only regulation, it's not only investors, but it's actually also employees and customers that are driving this shift. And I spoke to someone the other day who was saying something along these lines. We're always complaining about companies not being sustainable enough, not being circular enough, and all of that. At the end of the day, it's us. We're working for these companies. We're not only consumers, or we're not only citizens, but we're also employees of these companies. So in the different roles that we have an impact. We have a possibility to change things exactly as you said. So
yes, exactly. So when we are in our day jobs, we are not just passive workers who have no impact on anything. But we do have.
No, I fully agree. It's something that we tend to forget at times, that we're not just on the consuming end, we're not just riding shotgun, but we are the ones having the steering wheel at times as well. So
that's correct. And you mentioned the consumer side as well, and then I'm thinking way back when I was starting my career, sustainability, for example, wasn't an issue that you put forward when advertising new apartments, for example. It was always like location, and like housing projects, they always sell. But now it's changing, especially with the economy. When it's slowing down, not every project sells. Only the best ones are selling. And at the moment, the best ones are the ones that are also energy efficient, sustainable. They have some green elements there. Those are the projects that are now in high demand, and they actually sell for a premium, as opposed to some other projects that don't sell at all.
Interesting. And maybe building on that, I mean, looking into the future. Take out your crystal ball. Let's look into the future. How do you think the industry will change, will evolve in the coming years? Where do you see the main levers for companies to make an impact on topics like we mentioned, climate change, biodiversity loss, freshwater scarcity, all of these things?
I see kind of a nice synergies between front-running cities when they are developing some area. If they come up with the right kind of a criteria for these competitions for building plots and so on, then kind of a great things can happen. So if they can give the right guidance, like please take into account biodiversity, carbon footprint, circularity, so on, there's already companies who are looking forward for these kind of competitions. They are already kind of front runners. They are expecting to see more ambitious criteria, and they are ready to kind of put the most sustainable buildings out there if they have the chance. So it's not like companies would be like, nothing can be done, but they're actually looking forward to projects where they can showcase what they can do in terms of circularity, what they can do if they are given the opportunity to go as low carbon as possible, and if they can kind of show what they can do to increase biodiversity in the cities, in the built environment. And there's already good examples on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like in every other industry, the companies are serving the market, and they're basically looking at the market demand. And if the market demand, if the operating environment is demanding, is looking, is supporting, is enabling these type of buildings and also these type of investments, to be honest, I mean, it's also about investments, then I agree, then they have the chance to put their best foot forward.
Yeah, exactly. And there's some, I don't know if they're interesting or funny or what would be the right word, but for example, like nature, incorporating nature into cities. Like no one likes the concrete and brick and asphalt. Everybody, like us, it's studied over and over again. Like it's good for your mental health, it's good for your health to have something green, to have the nature in there. But for some reason, the nature is not there. in the cities.
I know.
And it's completely possible to have these green solutions on your site, on your roofs, on your facades, but it's not done.
Yeah.
And why is that? Well, I have no idea, but my guess is that we will see more of these examples where actually nature will come back to cities. Just to give one example.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And as we discussed, I think it's also mindset shift, aesthetics shift, and all of that in that context.
Absolutely.
Great. The coffee is empty, and it's time to wrap up this episode of the Circular Coffee Break. Thanks a lot, Antti, for joining me today. Really interesting topic. I
Thank
think
you.
We could easily continue for a couple of hours.
Absolutely.
On this.
My pleasure, and thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. To all of you out there listening, I hope you liked today's episode and you got some new inspiration and ideas. Go over, visit the webpage of the Finnish Green Building Council, or visit some of the events that Antti mentioned. As mentioned, if you have any comments, ideas, suggestions, please let us know by leaving a comment either on your favorite podcast platform or sending us a note at info@taival.com. Also, please remember to subscribe to stay in the loop on new episodes that will drop every 2 weeks. And we already have a lineup of really interesting guests from different industries, different backgrounds, very diverse group of people that can provide different aspects and different perspectives on circularity. I'm looking forward to seeing you all here at the Circular Coffee Break.